All right, we're gonna get started. It is 11. My name is Karina. I am the lead graphic designer at the Morro Grove Public Library. Thank you for stopping by this week's Crafting Live craft tutorial. We have been doing craft live programs for the last couple weeks. If you haven't looked at the previous videos, they are up on our YouTube page and on Instagram through our IGTV tab. So yeah, check those out. We've done a couple fun ones: paper flowers, magnetic bookmarks, hanging paper decorations, and then last week we did. What did we do last week? Oh gosh, I have forgotten. So yeah, just check those out. You'll be able to watch those on our YouTube and Instagram page. So this week's project is Pom Pom hearts, but it really is whatever shape you want to make it. I like it just because it's not paper, so it's a little different from what I've been doing previously. A lot of the ones I've been doing in the past have been paper projects, but I like it just because it kind of lets you get rid of scrap yarn if you have a bunch of that lying around. And you can make it whatever size you want, and obviously whatever shape. I just decided to kind of go with a heart for this one. So if you have any questions throughout the project, just comment and then I will answer those. Yeah, so I'm going to get started with just kind of going through the materials list. Most important is yarn. So like I have scrap ones, and then I have a big skein. So really it is up to you, whatever color you want your shape or your heart to be. You can use whatever yarn you have at home. So it is a lot of personalizing it to whatever you want and your needs. So yarn is most important, and then really it is making these little pom-poms using the yarn and then gluing it onto some kind of board. So cardboard, if you have like foam board, you can do that. And then the important thing is that you're gonna cut it in whatever shape you want. So right now, I'm using a heart for this one, but you could definitely do circle, triangle, whatever shape you want. And then with the pom-poms that we're gonna be making, you're just gonna arrange it in whatever pattern or way you want. So these are the two examples of the pom-pom hearts. So this one's it's a larger one, and then this one's the tinier one. And you can see that even with this one, we're gonna do two sizes of pom-poms. That way you can kind of fill it a lot, fill it with a mixture of sizes. And then with the small one, I just went with the tiny ones. So we'll go through how to make those. Okay, so you've got your yarn, you've got your cardboard, you're gonna need scissors, and then you're going to need glue. So I use liquid glue, but white glue. I didn't bust out my hot glue gun, but if you have a hot glue gun, you can use that. That probably would work better because it'll dry quicker. Whereas when I glued the pom-poms to the cardboard using liquid glue, I had to kind of put weight on it. So like a heavy book or whatnot, just to kind of, and then have it dry that way. So hot glue gun would probably be the best, but I will do the demo with liquid glue because if it will also work if that's the only one you have. So yeah, so really a lot of this, once again, it's whatever shape you're going to want to make. A lot of it is making these pom-poms. So we'll make a couple, but as you can tell, I have already made a few. Hi. I've already made a few, and then that way I can show you how to put it onto the board. But it really is, you're just gonna need to make a bunch of these, as much you want to fill up your cardboard shape. So it's repetitive, but it's fun. And once again, you can kind of make it to whatever color scheme that you want. So really what you're gonna do, we are going to make two sizes, so the bigger one and then the smaller one. And I will let you know that obviously we are going to be wrapping it around our fingers, our hands, so it will vary depending on how large your hands are. the big one, I wrap around 3 of my fingers. And I think when I measured, it was about like 2.25 inches tall. So if you want to make a template, you can. That might be easier. I just figured that, using your hands kind of is the easiest. And then when we are making the small ones, I used the 2 fingers, and that measured 1.5 inches tall. So once again, if you want to make a template, you can. You would just have to kind of cut out a thing to whatever the width is. So that's actually perfect. And then instead of using your hand, you would be wrapping it around the template. But for the demo, I'm going to be using my hands. So I'm going to start off with doing a large one. And I will kind of do 2 versions where it is a solid, and then you can tell how, like, for this one, I use 2 different colors. So you're gonna take your yarn, and once again, I'm gonna do the big one, so I'm gonna use 3 of my fingers, and really it is just wrapping. For the large one, I count 50 wraps. So just bear with me. I will be counting my wraps. 1, 2. 47, 48, 49, 50. All right, so that is 50 wraps. Where did I put my scissors? And then you're just gonna cut. And I'll do it with the dual. So this is for a solid. So I did wrap it around my 3 fingers 50 times. If you wanted to do a 2-tone, I would probably do maybe 40 wraps and then cut and then do your second color with 10 wraps. Okay, so once you have your 50 wraps of yarn around 3 of your fingers for the larger pom-pom, you're going to slip it out, but keeping it so that they're all together like that. Okay, and then you're going to lay it down on your table. All right, and then you're just going to cut a strand, so it doesn't, you want it to be long enough that it wraps. So you're going to lay the one strand that you just cut, and then your yarn that you wrapped 50 times around your 3 fingers. And for those folks just joining us, I will be doing this a couple of times. So if obviously you missed the first part, I'll be doing it a few times. So just stay with me. So what you're going to do is you're going to take the yarn that you wrapped around your fingers, and you're going to lay it in the middle of the single strand yarn, and you're just going to tie the single strand around the large bunch of yarn that you wrapped around your fingers. And you kind of want it to be as centered as possible. That way, because the string that we're going to tie is the middle of your pom-pom, and you kind of want the 2 sides to be as even as possible. So you're just going to try to make it so that it is in the middle. If you find that one side it's a little off, you just want to shift it before you really tie it. So then you're gonna really tie it so that it's crunched in the middle, and I usually double knot, and then tie. So you should have something that looks like this. Okay, so this is where my tie was, and then you should have two sides with a loop, and then those are the things that we're gonna snip, and then that's going to make the fringe. Okay, so I kind of like holding it, kind of using that single strand of yarn that we used. I kind of hold it there like a stem while I cut. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna take your scissors, and all of the loops you're just going to snip. So you can do several at a time if you want, or you can do single if you're more comfortable with that. So you're just gonna take those loops, and you're just gonna snip all of the loops until you are done. And then you're gonna do that on the other side too. So this is the way we're making all of the fringe from our pom-pom. going around. All right, so that is my one side. And then you're gonna flip and you're going to just cut the loops of the other side. Once again, if you wanna go one by one, you can, or you can just do a few at a time. So this is the larger pom-pom. We will be making another one of the larger one, and I'm going to demo it with two color of yarn, and then we'll move on to the smaller pom-pom. And it's the same motion, it's the same instructions, it's just how long, how many, or how wide you wrap the yarn. So really that's probably the most time consuming part of the project, is cutting all the loops. But once you have all of your loops cut, you do have this shaggy, it's your pom-pom, it's the beginning of the pom-pom. All right, so really at this point, this is the messy part. I do like to kind of trim it so that it's a little bit more manageable, because you see how a lot of them are, if you don't mind the shagginess of it, because obviously it's a yarn pom-pom, you don't need to cut, but I do like trimming. So at this point, if you want to trim, go for it. And it's just kind of cutting so that it's sort of even and sort of makes a dome shape. So just cut all of the longer, the really long ones. All right, so that is the pom-pom, and the way we're just gonna glue the bottom onto the cardboard. So we don't need to make sure that it's like super round, because it is gonna lay flat on the surface. All right, so that is the big pom-pom that's one single color. So now I'm gonna do one of the large ones with two colors. So we can go through it again. So you're gonna have your skein of yarn. And for the large ones, I am using 3 of my fingers. That does measure to about 2 1/4 inches tall or wide. So obviously, if you wanna make a template, feel free to do that. Everyone's hand is different size. So if that means you're gonna need to use 4 fingers, that's fine. If you want larger pom-poms, you just want it to be a larger thickness. If you want smaller pom-poms, it would be smaller. So for this demo, I'm gonna do 3 fingers for 2 1/4 inches wide. And then you're going to wrap the yarn 50 times total. But because I'm doing a 2-tone, I'm only gonna wrap my purple 40 times, and then I'm going to wrap my second color 10 times. So bear with me, I will be counting. So I've wrapped it 40 times. Once again, it's going to be for a total of 50, but because we're doing the 2-tone, I want 40 with my purple, and then I'm going to come in with another color, and I'm gonna wrap that just on top of it. So I'm not gonna slip it off. I want it all to be together. So I'm going to wrap this 10 times. All right, so that was 10 times, and then just snip. The important thing at this point is to remove all that yarn that you just wrapped in one piece. So it's like that all together, and you're just gonna lay it flat. You're going to take whatever color, you're gonna cut a strand that's large enough to wrap around. So you're gonna have that, and you're going to place your yarn that you wrapped around your hand in the middle of that single strand, and you're going to just tie. And you want to make sure that it is even on both sides. You're just going to tie really tightly so that it's crunched in the middle, and you're going to double knot. So it looks like that. Okay? So now you're going to make the fringe. So you're going to snip all of the loops. All right, so I'm going to go one side at a time. And really it's taking your scissors and just snipping all of these loops. You can do it one at a time, or you can do it in a bunch, whatever you are comfortable with. Let's see. So yeah, so with a two-tone, you can, and this is why I really like it, just because you can use up some scrap yarn. So it's a good way to kind of use stuff that you already have. So you're going to just come in and snip off all of the loops, one side at a time. All right, so that's one side, and then you're going to flip it over, and then you're going to cut the loops on the second side. So you can go one at a time or several. Like that. As I mentioned earlier, this is probably the most time-consuming part of this project, snipping all of the loops. But you just want to make sure you have all of them, and this is what makes all of the little tassels. All right, I think I've got everything. So this is the two-tone, and you see how it's a little shaggy, so I am going to kind of trim it. So I'm going to hold it, them, and then just kind of give it a little haircut. Like that. So that is another one of our pom-poms. So this is the larger one. So we have made 2 of the large ones. I'm going to move on to the smaller one. Once again, the nice thing about this, it is repetitive. It's just different in terms of the width. So that way, you know, you can make the sizes a little bit different. So I'm going to stick with purple. And this is, I'm going to do a small one of the purple. So you're going to take your yarn. And for this one, I'm going to use 2 fingers, and I think when I measured it, it is about 1.5 inches. So obviously, if your fingers are smaller or not or wider, just kind of adjust. Or you can just use 2 fingers, and then it'll just be a different size. It really doesn't matter, as long as the important thing is that you have enough of these to fill. So you can even decide that, similar to this, you just want all of the small ones. So it's whatever you want it to be, versus this one where I do have a mixture, because it was a larger cardboard. I do have a mixture of the large pom-poms and the smaller ones. So it's up to you. All right, so because this is a small one, I'm going to use the 2 fingers, and I'm just going to wrap it around my 2 fingers 30 times. So bear with me. So 30. All right, you're going to slip it off of your fingers, hopefully all in one bunch like that. You're going to remove, or you're going to cut a little bit, a single strand. And you're going to lay that small bunch of yarn that you wrapped and trying to get it as close to the middle as possible. It's a little dry. You're going to wrap it in the center and tie like that. You're going to double knot. Now you've got two sides with loops that you're going to start snipping off, and this is what's going to make the fringe of our pom-pom. So you're just going to take either one at a time or in batches. You're going to snip off all of the loops. This is the most time-consuming part of this project. Making sure that all the loops are cut. So once you've got the one side, you're just going to go to the second side and cut those loops. Okay, so now that I've cut all of my loops, you see how it's a little shaggy, so I'm going to just trim it so that it's a little bit more even, like dome-like. So just give it a little haircut. Like that, okay? And at some point you could cut off the strand, the single strand that we used to tie it. You can do that. So that is the smaller one, and this is the larger one. And you see the difference in size. So this one we wrapped around 3 fingers. This one we wrapped around 2. This was 50 times, and then this was 30 times. So I'm going to do one last one of the small one, and I'm going to use 2 colors. So just to show you how to do that. So with your yarn, there you are. We're going to wrap it around 2 fingers because this is a smaller one. And because it's 30 times, I'm going to wrap it around 20 times with the purple, and then I'm going to cut it. And then I'm going to do the second color yarn 10 times. So just bear with me as I count. So that was 20, snip, and then come in with your second color. And I'm going to wrap this around 10 times. Sweet. And snip. The more times you wrap it around your finger, obviously the fuller the pom-pom's going to be. So it really just depends on what you want. So once you have it wrapped around your finger, you're going to slip it off, trying to keep it as together as possible, like that. And then you're going to just take a single strand of yarn and you're going to just cut it. You're going to lay that flat in front of you, and then you're going to lay this bunch on top. And then kind of where the middle of that bunch is, you're going to wrap that single strand, and you're going to pull to tighten to really, really crunch it up. You're going to double knot. Like that. So you should have something that looks like this with 2 sides of loops, okay? And then what makes the fringe is that we're gonna cut these loops, and then you're going to, it's kind of gonna just be shaggy. So what you're gonna do is one side at a time, you're going to want to just take your scissors and then cut where those loops are. As I mentioned earlier, you can do it individually if you want, or just several at a time. So it's your preference. So So you're just gonna cut all of the loops. Like that, so that's one side, and then when you're done with one side, you're going to just flip it, and then you're going to do the same thing. So cut all of the loops on the other side. Okay, so now you should have something that looks like this. If you find that it is a little shaggy, you're going to give it just a little bit of a trim, just by going around, kind of cutting all of the longer pieces until you are happy with your pom-pom. This was the single strand that we tied the sides together, so I'm just gonna cut that in half so that it's not super long. So now that you have all of the pom-poms, so we did create a few. It really depends on how full you want your heart to be or whatever shape you're using. So you're gonna have to make as many of these as you need to fill your shape. So once you have all of them though, and obviously you can make it all small if you want, or for our project, we're doing a mixture of larger pom-poms and smaller pom-poms. So once you have all of the pom-poms that you've created, you're just gonna lay it kind of in whatever way you want on your shape. So obviously we're doing a heart shape here today. So I kind of like to just lay it first, so that way I know that I have enough pom-poms and I don't need to create any more. So like that. And obviously that will also decide how wide or like how close or tight they have to be, because if you or you'll have to make more pom-poms. So once you have it kind of full on your shape, you're just gonna pick these up. And this is where liquid glue does work if that's the only thing you have, but hot glue gun probably is the best for it. So what you're just gonna do is, you see where we tied, so you're just gonna dab a little bit of glue like that in the center, and you're just gonna place with a lot of pressure onto your cardboard. So when I did the samples using liquid glue, I did have to glue it all down and then apply like a heavy book on top of it, just while it dried. So just keep that in mind. So hot glue gun probably would be the easiest because it'll dry quicker, but liquid glue also does work. So you're gonna take another piece and you're gonna dab glue in the center. And then wherever you pick that up, you're just gonna apply pressure and just have it, just glue it down. And you are going to need to put some weight on it. Dab glue in the center, like that. And then you're going to place it down. And you're just gonna do that with all of the pieces of pom-poms until you create, or until you've filled up your space or your shape. So this is already dry. And you're probably because if you are using liquid glue and you did flatten it using a heavy object, it will be a little flat. So this is kind of just where you fluff them up. Because it's super light, because it's just cardboard and yarn, you could just use like poster tape and put it on the wall. If you wanted to hang it, you could, before you put the yarn pom-poms on, you could have put some two holes at the ends, and then you could tie a string if you just wanted to hang it using string versus taping it onto a wall. So yeah, so those are that's how you make pom-poms, and then you can use the pom-poms to decorate whatever shape you want for wall decorations or whatnot. So that is the program. Thank you guys for stopping by. If you create any of the projects that I've taught during Crafting Live, please post photos and tag us on Instagram or Facebook. As I mentioned earlier, if you wanted to watch any of our previous crafting live, this is our second one through Facebook Live. You can find the older ones on our YouTube page and also our Instagram TV. So yeah, thank you guys for stopping by. I will see you guys next week. I think we'll be doing tissue paper tassels, so that'll be a fun one. Stay safe, stay healthy. We'll see you next week. Thanks.